things that I like, well, that's actually, I thought we were just trying to see. She was all the way in the back, and I none of the quarters saw it. I wouldn't have recognized it. No. Like, if that's a good little detail, right? I didn't. There was a lot of people in there, and I was like, I wouldn't have been really bad. And I've realized being in the back sometimes. And you know me, you're the first in the row.
Oh my God, you're like right up there.
Like that's my high maintenance, but sometimes in the back, whatever. So crazy. You still don't feel like bigger people.
About doing something else.
Yes.
And you always find it. Yeah.
All right, so Denise will kick it off.
Dave, yours, David, I'll take you three, if you could, to stand with commissioners, because the three of you might have some answers for the press, so you three. And, Madam Prosecutor, right over here.
It's hard to type.
It was just the regular candidate.
I'm going to bring the other commissioner in.
Test.
We're going to wait for Commissioner Summer to do this to do it. I don't have any one stuff. And you did a great job. I was glad to be able to see the replay. Because it's hard to tell from here.
She said she gave her if Dave's questions were off.
Okay.
Yeah, she said just give me a second.
So, right, for Commissioner Riggs?
I don't think she's coming.
No, she just said come get her if somebody has questions for her. So we can kick it off, and then really this is just an opportunity for the press to ask questions.
Okay.
And we have the entire team and a statement from Madam Prosecutor.
Yes, okay, so thank you all for being here. It is a historic day for us. I know you've all been at the edge of your seats waiting for us to announce this. We promised we would tell you as soon as we had it, and we did. So here we are today. We beat the deadline by a couple days. So we've already said, I think, what we need to say by way of the nature of this agreement. You saw the tenets of it. It's a new lease. It's a new day for the county. We are entering into an agreement in collaboration with the Bengals. That is a new look as well. As you know, that has been a strained relationship in the past, but we are coming together today to announce the terms for the new lease. So very excited about that. You heard about us talking about all the great tenets of it, and I understand that Commissioner Summer-Aduns may have a couple comments, and then the prosecutor would like to say some things, and then you're welcome to ask the team any questions you would like. Because that's why they're here. So, so Commissioner Summer-Aduns.
I'm just excited about where we're going, moving forward. I always am excited when we're moving forward. And as I said, the last thing I said is I never thought we would be here. I thought this news conference would be about something not so good. So I'm excited about the team we have here and how hard they work. And so just looking forward to the future for our residents, and we're doing the best for them. We're here to make sure that they get everything, not everything, nobody gets everything, but I believe it's a win-win in this process. So thank you.
I'm just going to build on that for 1 second. We have all said this lease is not perfect, but it is, remember the old lease and what we had to deal with, and the idea that the team could have extended that lease for the next 10 years.
Right.
So let's reality check for 1 second and say that could have happened today, and we would have, and it was renewed every 2 years, which is even worse than straight out 10 years, because then you never know. There's no stability in that at all for us. That would have been terrible for the taxpayers. And so the new terms of the lease are much better. The team is contributing much more, so the taxpayers truly do benefit from this agreement. So I just wanted to highlight what you were saying.
And we're all standing in the middle of a miracle.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
Because if you knew where we started and where we are now, you would know what I'm talking about, and they know for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner.
Uh-huh.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner. Wow, I'm very excited to announce that today Hamilton County and the Cincinnati Bengals have agreed on the terms for a new lease of Paycor Stadium. And as the commissioner said beforehand, not everybody thought we were going to get here today, but it is a big win for the taxpayers and for our community. An icon of our community's identity is going to remain rooted in the heart of downtown, and it's going to strengthen our economic structure for years to come for our region. It's definitely a win-win. This was only possible because, sorry, I tapped somebody's microphone there. Yeah, sorry, sir. It was only possible because both parties came to the table and they worked together for the common good, for a shared commitment to a community-focused, fair, and progressive deal for Hamilton County. I really want to thank the Bengals for entering this new era of cooperation with the county, with the team that we assembled to negotiate this on behalf of the county. I'm really, really proud of our negotiating team. I want to mention, of course, my chief of our civil division, Steve Simon, who's over there, Roger Friedman, who's been working on this for at least a dozen years.
Oh, maybe closer to 45.
All right, 45 years, okay, a little bit longer.
That's grade school.
I also want to thank the team at Dinsmore and Scholl. We have here with us Marty Dunn and George Vincent. We also know that Alex Linzer was a part of this. And of course, David Abrams, who's a very, very skillful negotiator. All of these people, all of these pieces came together, and we're looking at a new day for Hamilton County. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Driehaus, really quickly to you also last, with Commissioner Lease making the point that the Bengals attorneys really are just focused on the Bengals, not the taxpayers necessarily. Understandable, they're a client. The question I have, what incentivized them, do you think, to not just do the 10-year, 2-year extensions and make as much money as they could and charge as much money to the county as possible?
Yeah, I know, right? What? So, I mean, I can't speak for the Bengals, but what I do know is they want to stay in Cincinnati. And so we've been talking to the Bengals for quite some time. Commissioner Reese alluded to this. You know, we've had conversations with the governor and the folks at the State House. But the Bengals, we've been talking to them all that time as well about, you know, a new lease. And so they knew exactly what we wanted. But they do want to be here. They do want to collaborate with the county. They recognize that there is a different group of leadership here, and so it's a new day, it's a new time, and there's a new opportunity here. And so I think, I don't want to speak for them again, and I'm sure they will be issuing a statement shortly, so I think you should rely on that, but that's what we know about the Bengals.
And I think the simple answer is there's no place like home. You just said they want to be here.
Commissioner or anybody else on the team, so the previous framework was 870, and now we're down to 400, it's almost half. What is going to be kept in terms of the improvements, and what is going to be left off the table in terms of what people will see at the stadium?
So more to come on that, because we're not finished with the state yet. So we are moving forward with what we can afford, and so that's important to note. But as you look at all the different projects, they are kind of tiered, and at least in our minds, as to what needs to be done, what would be great to be done if we had the money to do it. And so that's the stack of projects that you see. Let me talk about the state for 1 second, because it was mentioned. So the state gave us the ability to go apply for funds. It's the unclaimed funds at this point, and it's had some different iterations, as you know. The Cleveland deal does not work for us, and so it is no surprise that what they're doing for the Haslams is they're not doing it doesn't work for us. They're talking about new development around the stadium. We already have development around the stadium. It's $40 million a year to the state coffers, right? So that doesn't work for us. So what they have said is sports stadia can go and apply for these dollars that that have been set aside from the unclaimed funds. And so, but they did indicate to us when we went up, and I think it was on the Senate side, we asked them about the criteria. Well, you know, do we have an advantage here? What's the opportunity? And they said shovel-ready projects with a plan in place for what those projects would be and a clear benefit to the state of Ohio. Check, check, check. We've got all that. And so as that opportunity presents itself by way of their budget, we will go with the Bengals and ask for those dollars to put that into the financial stack. So that's up and coming.
The 10-year lease extension, or the 10-year term of the lease, that's much less than what the county wanted. What is to stop them from coming for another $350 in 10 years? And will the $350 million, will the bonds sold be paid off within the lease term? That was another key ask of the counties.
So I'm going to let some others explain this, but I want to clear this 10-year term up. So the 10 years is really 11 years because it kicks in early, so it'll actually be 11. We're trying to get out from under the current lease. So that's a piece of this equation. I'm going to let Marty talk to this, but there is a trigger for the first 2-year extension, and so we feel fairly confident that that is going to happen, and so it turns into a 13-year agreement. But I want Marty to, if you're the appropriate person to describe the details of that.
I did have one question for you.
I will come back up.
Okay.
Yep.
So it is it's a protection, a backstop, an insurance. They can elect to extend for 2 years if they want. If they don't do that and they achieve 24th ranking from an NFL revenue standpoint, then it automatically will extend for 2 years. So that's the mechanism that we put in place. We expect them to do it voluntarily, but if they don't, we have that protection for the county.
Where do they rank now?
Whoa. The 350 though, is it going to be bonded out and paid off in that time though, or are we in a situation where the money will continue after even the 13-year period?
And David can address this as well, but I think that the short answer is that this is a better place for us in retiring the existing debt. We're more exposed now from a debt standpoint. This will actually reduce the outstanding debt by about $100 million, even if they do not extend it. If they do extend it, then it's going to reduce that further.
It's a 15-year amortization, to your question.
Mr. Dunn, do you know where the Bengals rank now in terms of the revenue in the league? I didn't. Where are we? Do you know? Or David, do you know?
I'm happy to. You know, I don't know where they stand. I mean, I can only look at let's say publicly available. So CNN and Sportico, Sports Business Journal, where they rank, but you know, it's in the lower quartile.
So there's some
It's
confidence
30th
they'll be
in
24.
2024.
Yeah. Excuse me?
There's some confidence they will rise?
I think it's very achievable for there to make it into the third quartile. I mean, that's why that term is in the agreement.
Will you, since we have you at the podium, tell us, you know, you're noted for doing these deals and seeing the whole country and so forth.
Yeah.
What again, just in simplified terms for the viewer, what are the key takeaways and how does it compare to other deals?
Sure. So, yeah, I do this all over the country. I've worked on a number of NFL transactions. I would say the majority of what I've done is new build. So Tennessee was one that I represented Nashville for. I've done a lot with NFL teams as well. It's hard to draw a comparison from deal to deal, right? Because typically they're far away from each other, you know, from a time frame standpoint, and then the geography is different everywhere. So to compare is, you know, probably not the best thing. But this deal, initially done in 1997, as I mentioned at the podium, was, you know, it was pretty one-sided for the Bengals. I wasn't here in that deal. You know, there are terms that I would have shied away from that actually were written, but the idea here is to be risk off. Look, and I think you asked the question is that, well, what would have been wrong with the 2-year rolls? Predictability is everything. So it's good for the county, it's good for the team. When they have predictability and the league wants them to be predictable, they don't want to know that they don't have a home every 2 years. That is bad for business, right? It's just like take your major department store that they're going to move to, you know, from town to town each time their lease is up. So you want predictability, and that's helpful. I think that's the hallmark of this deal is that we have some predictability. Everybody's keyed in on the lease term, but you have to key in on the serviceability of the stadium for however long they're going to be there. So we have an automatic sit down in year 7 to look at the building and go, well, maybe we should be thinking about something different, you know, as we go forward. to assume that a 30-year-old building has 20 more years left in it, even with the amount of money that's going to be expended, is an engineering and an architectural, professional's job to guide everybody. That's what we'll be doing.
But on that point, why not, you're spending $350 now, why not do that new stadium now if you got to do it in 10 years?
That's a really good question. This is a great question. So we asked that question right from the beginning when I was first came on with the county. And in fact, in Nashville, that was the discussion. We actually sat with the Titans and they said, we'd like to do a major renovation. When you looked at the renovation and you looked at the condition of their stadium and the state was wanting a dome building to attract other events, it made more sense to build a new stadium. And by the way, if you know the topography there, Nissan Stadium was closer to the Cumberland River, and it flooded several times and caused some problems in that building. Here you have a building that does not have those same conditional issues, and there was no interest in putting a dome on top of this. I think one of the key features of a northern city is to have the cold, right, and to make it tough for other teams to play in there. So this is not my choice. This is the team's desire. So the balancing of what the condition of the stadium, the team's desires, and just the economics of being able to affordability all led us in this direction.
Could I ask about the operating costs?
Yeah.
Why aren't they shared more? Because in the county's term sheet from April, the county said that they couldn't afford to keep paying all the operating costs.
Well, there is a shared expense. So the team pays its day of game expenses. Now, most teams pay day of game expenses in the NFL. Most sports teams around the country pay their event day expenses. Not everyone in the NFL, but almost all of them. That's still going to happen here. That is a very expensive amount to run that stadium. We share in some of the other operating expenses. It is a community asset, and so the original agreement had a sharing. In this case, we're going to still continue to do that, but one of the big open issues was capital expenditures. So, when everybody talks to use the short-term CapEx, and so the public may not know what that is. But capital expenditures are renewal and replacement of things that just deteriorate. You have to do a new seating bowl, you have to put new glass, new flooring, new electronics in the building. That was one that we were uncapped on. In fact, all of it was a responsibility of the county. We've now put limitations on that.
How about cost overruns?
That's going to be the team's responsibility.
Commissioner
Right? So,
Driehaus, Commissioner Reese raised this as a potential issue.
I'm sorry.
And the benefit to the taxpayer, other than obviously the Bengals staying and the stadium lease being long-term. What's your take on the property tax issue and the property tax rebate? And Alicia Reese was saying it might not be for the 7th year of the contract. What do you say to the taxpayers that say they're already getting that 30% that might go away?
What I say to the taxpayers is that we didn't raise taxes to do any of this. There's a dedicated funding source, which is the sales tax, which the people voted for, by the way. I'll remind everyone. So we are working within that parameter because we knew there was no public appetite to do any more than the dedicated funding source that already exists for the stadiums, for the build, the upkeep, and all the rest. And remember, we've got other pressures against that, including the bonding, including the Reds, including the school. I mean, there's just lots to that. And so the benefit to the taxpayers is having this team here, as David said, with some predictability, where they are paying in for quite a few of the renovations. They're paying in for rent. We are controlling what happens in that stadium. When I have been out in every meeting I had, and I went to all 49 jurisdictions, as many of you know, in every jurisdiction somebody said, how's it going with the Bengals? Every single time. And I would say, what do you all want to see from this? No more taxes and access to our facility. Those were the top two. And we've achieved that here. And so I do think there's a tremendous benefit to the taxpayers beyond the economic benefit that's just generated by having the Bengals here, and mind you, for the games, but also for the other stuff. And that we've got a community benefits agreement coming. We've never had that. And so we'll see how all that shakes out. But that's going to be all good for county taxpayers. And I don't want to do this exclusive from Commissioner Dumas, who has
No,
plenty
you're
of
fine. I just wanted to mention about the PTR that originally the team did not want it at all. And they said no, and our team fought for the PTR. It may not be the 30% that people want, because we want to remain fiscally responsible, but we fought to continue to have a PTR.
Do you have an amount on that yet? I mean,
Not
is
yet.
that still being negotiated?
Commissioner Dreehouse,
Go ahead.
if you do receive state funding, how will that impact the county share, the team share, the scope of the project?
It'll increase the scope of the project. I
So
mean,
you'll be able to do
yeah,
more.
we'll be able to do more. We have, and you all have seen that, and I know that's a little bit in the distant past, but remember those projects and how we were doing some significant renovations in the northern part of the stadium, but then we were doing all these other improvements, renovations. The vertical transportation is a real issue at the stadium by way of just moving people around, and also it's a safety issue. And so we're going to address all those things first. And so it will be some movement by way of some of these nuts and bolts, what I call the nuts and bolts kind of projects. But we've got some expectation that the building would be more accessible for the Bengals games and other events. I mean, we're building that into the redesign. And so some of it, obviously, with a lesser dollar amount, we cannot do. If the state comes in with some money, we will be able to move up that ranking chart and say, oh, now we can include this. So that's how the math works.
What is the revenue split going to be on outside events? It's currently split 50-50 for Taylor Swift concert. What is it going to be in the new lease?
We have not negotiated that point to my knowledge.
It's going to change. You don't think it's going to change?
I mean, it has not been negotiated, but
The reason I ask is because one of the obstacles to FC Cincinnati using that stadium was that the Bengals would take half of the revenue. I wonder if lacrosse becomes a big thing, and or some other sport that could potentially go there. Is that possible in the future? Because the original stadium was conceived of as a soccer stadium as well.
Well, and right, because you can remove those end zone pieces. And, well, I mean, that we're even having this conversation is the point, right? We can now have this conversation, right? What else are we going to do with the stadium? It's ours. It's yours. So let's think through that and think about all the things that we can program now into the county's facility. We couldn't have that conversation before this because the Bengals controlled all of it. And so that's no longer the case. That some of the details are being negotiated, but the good news for the taxpayers is they get access to their own facility.
So, but to that point,
Can I just say, I know you've been asking.
I know.
So,
I might have to
let's have Bridget
call
control.
people
Yeah.
to move around.
No, I just wanted the deadlines. You're out from under the June 30th deadline now. Well, why isn't there a new deadline set? This could go on forever.
No,
It-
it's not.
It will be set, and it will be set.
If you could
I'm
go-
sorry, the new deadline will be set, and it'll be set probably in the next 2 days or so. It'll be set before Monday, let's put it that way, which is the absolute deadline.
You can send Mr. Dunn a letter of intent.
Hold on,
sorry,
hold on.
yes,
It's
please.
in-
Well, what do you anticipate in terms of the new deadline? A month, 2 months, 3 months, a couple of weeks?
Well, I think
Parameter would-
to everyone's point, it takes time to negotiate these documents. I mean, you saw Commissioner Lease hold up the thickness of the existing, 1997 lease. So there are a lot of details there, and we don't want to rush through that, frankly. For the sake of the Hamilton County taxpayers and everybody else, we want to take our time to get through those devilish details. So the extension that they will receive will coincide with the time that we think it takes to complete the negotiations of the definitive documents.
With no comment now on how long you think it'll take.
Stay tuned.
Mr. Dunn, real quick, I know Commissioner Reese, I'm sorry, Bridget, has made the point in the past, like the Bengals are so smart about controlling the price of popcorn and hot dogs and down to the very granular level. Is that just for people, oh gosh, if whoever's mic that is, I don't know.
We got
Is that the kind of thing going forward? I mean, you've got the term sheet, we're reading that, big numbers and all that, with specifics. I know that's very concerning to her, understandably so, and she makes a persuasive argument there. Is that what's next here? And
It is.
how
It's
do you-
concerning for everybody. I mean, again, it's not just one document. It's a lease, it's a management agreement, it's a community benefits agreement. There are a lot of parts to this, and we want to be careful, take our time to make sure that we are measured and careful in the way that we get everything done.
I think Aaron had one, and then we'll go to James.
Commissioner Dreehouse, you mentioned before that the NFL loan is tied to certain kinds of fan-facing improvements, like improvements to the club lounges and suite seating. Are those projects still a priority since we're still using that NFL loan money?
So none of that has changed.
Okay.
Yep.
could But just as a follow-up on what Chris was saying, so right now, even if it is another sporting event. even if it-
Okay, let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
You are right, yeah.
All right, so this is something that some of us have prioritized on the commission. So regarding that fan-facing priorities, let me just say that we are intending to have lactation rooms and free period products throughout the stadium, thanks to the commission and the Commission on Women and Girls recommendation, I must say. So I thank you, Commissioner, for the reminder.
So it's not necessarily a point of contention in terms of the revenue split on outside events. So Taylor Swift,
So
Garth
we-
Brooks, whatever, it's still going to be 50-50, or are you
So
still?
it's not a point of contention. It is yet to be negotiated. And so we have some
It could-
details
it
here.
could change.
And to be clear, we're not finished with the lease itself. We don't have the lease itself. What we have is an agreement with the team under these tenants that are the top tenants of what we've all been talking about, an agreement on what that looks like to move forward. The deadline is Monday, because the deadline we keep talking about is deadline for them to say they're going to extend for 2 more years, the current lease. That's the deadline we've been bumping up against. The lease doesn't expire till next year, a year out, right? So let's get our timeframes together. And so we have agreed with the Bengals that deadline has been satisfied. We are moving forward with a new lease. We are going to come to an agreement. We've agreed to that. The details are yet to be worked out, and that will be an additional document that you will all know about when it comes forward. The details have not been worked out, but some of these, and it's not that the details aren't important, but that is not where we are today. We've got a letter of intent that we have both agreed to, knowing that we have agreed to get there together. So I think that's really important for the community to know and understand.
How soon will you be approaching the state for funding?
As soon as it's available. I mean, we've already got Ann Centurley, who's on our staff, right, doing the work already. So yeah, that was what, a day or 2 ago that they finally figured out how. And has the governor even signed the budget yet?
Not yet.
So we do have to wait for the governor to sign, and then the process kicks in.
Will you still be asking for 350, considering the pot's only 400 million?
We will ask for as much as is necessary. I mean, we're not going to hedge our bets here. I mean, we'll go in. We've got some really great projects, and we're going to ask for those dollars.
Looks like it's.
And I think about where we
Well, that's right.
could possibly be on the MOU. Both of us, we voted on the MOU, the capital improvement, and the NFL said if we didn't approve it, they would not give us additional money. So we could be in a whole different place. And now that we're waiting for the state to get, not waiting, but we're hoping that we get the money from the state, they can see that we're unified and that we agreed to the MOU for capital
And
improvements.
Chris, you are correct that so what is in the state budget right now, there are dollar amounts associated with the cost of the project. And so that will obviously guide our request.
I believe a 20-year lease if you want the 250.
I have not seen
I
that.
haven't seen
No.
that.
No, it's related to the amount of the project.
Chris?
I want to make sure I understand the bank's land use restriction changes. Does the county have carte blanche in terms of what it can build there at this point? I mean, or in the new document? Is that what you were saying earlier in the
We own it.
the height? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some of
so-
the restrictions. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's carte blanche. I think what we said was that there was a term in the current lease that gave very specific urban design standards. Both the county and the team are players in this urban design group, and the team and the county both agree that ultimately the approved recommendations of that
He was like, the end of the current lease is 26. Just two quick questions. Would this go through 37, or what's the last year?
36,
Today.
yeah, 36, but we still have 1 year remaining on the current lease. And again, both sides want to move beyond the current lease. We don't like it, they don't like it. This will capture that final year, and that's why it will be packaged in an 11-year term.
The last thing I'll ask is just, and dumb this down for our viewers, what are, again, I know you've been in the rabbit hole on this, the 3 key takeaways that are a benefit for both sides, for taxpayers? How do you define that?
Well, I don't know, I would put it down to 3. I would just say we couldn't get to the conversation about, the documents and the details and those kinds of things without getting to this point. I mean, there was a lot of effort that went into these material economic terms. I mean, David and our whole team, everybody, the prosecutor's office, we've had to get here in order to open the door for all of the volumes of documents that we need to go through and finalize. So it is important because every business deal starts with this kind of arrangement. There's a letter of intent, there's a summary of the terms, and then you get into all of the documentation.
So it looks like we got 2 more questions, Paula and then Chris.
So, just so I understand correctly, by Monday, we should have a new deadline for when?
That is our hope, yes. We've got, as soon as we can finish here and start getting back to doing what lawyers do, we can take the next step to get things memorialized so that we can get that extension in place.
And then lastly, is the county's $350 million share, will all of that be bonded?
I would imagine
Bonded,
most
yes,
of
someone,
the
yeah.
vast majority, if not all of it, will be bonded, yes.
Yeah.
And then wrapping up. Thank you.
The lease payments that the team makes, will that?
Chris, you said wrap. I'm just.
She said I got another question. The lease payments the team makes, what will that money be used for? Will that be used for operations or for something else?
Yeah, it'll be used to offset operations and capital expenditures. So it is a direct offset to the county's expenditures, which was another thing that the board had prioritized.
Didn't I also see if some of it might go to a fund for future CapEx expenditures?
I'm sorry, James, what did you say?
Didn't I see that some of the rent payments would also go into a fund for future? I thought I saw that
I think
somewhere.
that was the CapEx.
Yeah, towards the CapEx carries over, correct, but the rent goes towards that, correct.
All right, thanks, guys.
Well, I just wanted to say one other
Of
thing,
course.
because I thought it was really good when Marty said we not only had to open the door, we had to open their eyes, because they initially came and said, the lease is fine. So that's what we started out. Nothing is wrong with the lease, and so that's how much work that all of us have done. Okay.
And I'm just going to answer your question. What, top 3? No offense, Marty. I've got a top 3. Top 3 is the Bengals are staying here in the long term. We have a new lease that's better for the taxpayers, and we didn't raise taxes. Those are my top 3.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Beloved
Thanks,
partner, the
everybody.
Bengals.
What's that?
Our beloved partner, the Bengals.
Yes. Beloved partner.
All right. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Good.
Bengals have never begun.
Do you guys want to grab lunch and then we'll go straight to the Empire, or?
Going out now.